This week on Legal Aliens, Tess is the worst at being reassuring, Pierce can't make up his mind, and Jim finally gets to come to the rescue. Don't come in without shoes on, because there's broken glass in The White Room, which is episode 21 of season 1 of Roswell. I'm Chris.
I'm Claire, and this is Illegal Aliens, a Roswell podcast. The White Room first aired on May 8th, 2000. It was directed by Jonathan Frakes, well known as Number 1, Will Riker, and Star Trek Next Generation. This is the third of 5 Roswell episodes Frakes directed. We last saw him in the director's chair for Foursquare, and last saw him on screen as himself in The Convention.
The White Room was co-written by Jason Katims and Thania St. John, who have 26 episode writing credits for Roswell between them. Thania last wrote on Foursquare, and Jason, the show's creator and executive producer, last wrote The Convention, so they've both worked an episode with Frakes before this. Let's start the recap.
Well, just briefly, I think she's also been on screen as a reporter, hasn't she?
She has,
Thania
yes,
St.
that's
John?
the one.
Yes. Right, recap. We were doing this. In the White Room, Pierce asks Max questions over a speaker. Max tries to answer like a normal teenager, and masked men rush in and strap him down.
The rest of the gang gathers at the crashdown to worry about Max. Tess is confident that Pierce wants him alive. Liz wants to go to Jim Valenti for help, but Tess is confident that with their powers, they can bring Max back.
Isabel dreamwalks Max, but the images are topsy-turvy and confusing. Max shows her that Pierce is the new deputy, and the symbols on the hallway floor, from which she deduces that the Special Unit headquarters, Eagle Rock Base.
Liz wants to get Jim's help, but Pierce's secret identity in Jim's office means that none of the aliens trust him. Michael and Isabel follow Tess's plan, leaving the other 3 behind, so they'll be safe.
At Eagle Rock, the 3 aliens find an unguarded way in, but the important parts of the base are locked behind a door with a biometric scanner.
Pierce questions Max while he's drugged, but gets frustrated and orders his lackeys to get him sober again. As Liz, Maria, and Alex try to keep their hopes up, Jim comes by. He's scared, Max is in trouble, and offers to help.
Searching for Max in the Eagle Rock morgue, the 3 alien kids are discovered by Nasedo, who complains that now he has to get all 4 of them out safely.
At 4 o'clock, Liz goes to Jim for help. She tells him about Pierce playing the deputy, where the Special Unit has Max, and asks Jim to trust her.
Pierce tortures Max with a cheap set of VR goggles, and by showing faked footage of Liz shot dead, convinces him to tell them where they hid the alien orb. Nasedo gives Michael lessons on changing his fingerprints.
Isabel asks Tess her part in the plan, and Tess demonstrates her power by projecting a Special Unit agent carrying her off, frightening Isabel before revealing that none of the performance was real.
In the morgue, Michael gets the hang of copying a dead agent's fingerprint in the nick of time, but Nasedo kills another agent who was coming their way, and Michael argues that it wasn't necessary. Together, they make it through the scanner and look for Max.
Isabel dreamwalks Max again as Pierce's team begins to slice open his chest. He tells her that Pierce wants to see the orbs work. After a moment of stage fright, Tess puts on a show projecting a vague glow about the orbs that Pierce finds mesmerizing.
Nasedo blasts the one-way glass away and leads Michael into the White Room to take Max to safety, while he stays behind with Pierce. In spite of Michael's best efforts at improv, other agents arrive in time to warn Pierce about Nasedo and shoot him down.
Pierce orders a lockdown, but there's just time for Jim Valenti to show up, shoot Pierce, and get the alien boys safely through the door. Pierce tries to follow, but only succeeds in smearing his blood on the palm scanner. So, I do have a suggestion for where to begin with this one.
Excellent.
Which is kind of with this thematic question of being stronger together and kind of strength and vulnerability and all of that stuff.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
In that kind of, first off, Nasedo, when they first meet him in the morgue, he complains, "Oh, now my job is harder. I need to make sure that you guys get out safely as well."
Yes, definitely.
But he then proceeds with a plan which could not possibly have worked without their help.
It does rather beg the question of what Nasedo was planning to do, considering he can't reproduce the fingerprint. Or he can, but he can't reproduce the skeletal structure.
Yes. And yes, he can't provoke the diversion by himself. He can't communicate with Max. He can't do any of these things that the kids can with their powers.
And as far as we know, we can't do Tess's mind warpy trick either, so...
Yes, yeah.
This whole thing, you're right, seems contingent on allies.
Yes, yes. And then there's Tess, who tells the 3 human kids that they would be a weakness and a liability. And on the one hand, I mean, it doesn't really seem that the danger is necessarily that much less for kids with alien powers than kids without. And yet, simply having 6 kids wandering around inside this alien base does magnify the danger. So kind of, it makes sense to limit the team, and when you're limiting the team, it does kind of make sense to put the kids with a slight edge closer in the line of fire.
It does, but I mean, it's got a weird security system, does this army base, because it takes forever and a day before they register something wrong has happened.
Yeah, there's a slight reference to the electric fence that Tess was able to get them past, but still.
But that can't be it, right? It's got hyper-modern technology. It has to have a video camera or 2 somewhere.
Yes, you would think, except kind of I get the sense that it's like this relic of the 50s, if not earlier, that they just moved into, and all of the truly modern tech is in this one centralized place behind the scanner door.
Yeah, that would work. There is an ongoing tension in the episode between what feels like 1930s technology approach, treatment of stuff, and modern technology.
Yes. But it always sits uncomfortably with me that Liz and Alex and Maria are written out, and then kind of they do get their opportunity to make the difference in that they bring Valenti here, and what happens after Valenti gets them all out will be revealed in the final episode of the season.
Yeah, that's next episode's story, but you're right, we do basically sideline our humans.
Yes.
Which is a shame, because the other theme that we were, that comes up a lot, sorry, we've now rapidly departed your starting point here.
That's okay, yes.
But the other ongoing thing we've got throughout this episode is this tension between the human and the inhuman.
Right.
And yes. I kind of feel we miss a trick by completely eliminating our humans.
Yes. Yes, we do, and that is definitely shown a few ways. There's kind of that first evocative question that Pierce first poses to Max, what's your home planet? Whereas, Max answers with the only answer that he knows, and of course Pierce isn't ready to listen to that.
Yes, Pierce has no filter, really, for the fact that there are gaps in alien knowledge.
Right. Yes, he has kind of, I think, this narrative of the first wave of alien infiltration before the invasion, and completely rejects any facts that don't fit that premise.
Well, he definitely does, because he shouts at Max that he's saving his planet from being colonized by Max. And Max is a scrawny teenager stuck in a white room, unable to do anything.
Yes, and then kind of we have Nasedo telling Michael that, oh no, your powers aren't alien, they're just the limits of human potential.
Yes, while Nasedo acts more like a computer than anything.
Yes, which kind of is a point we never get back to again as far as I know, and that really doesn't fit the show. If you're going to be talking about aliens, then any unusual thing that the kids should do should be a product of their alien side.
Yes.
I do wonder if it's just some vague attempt at a psychological trick on Nasedo's part that he thinks Michael will be able to use his powers more effectively if he's not thinking of them as alien.
He's got the wrong alien kid for that experiment.
I would tend to think so, too.
But then Nasedo and psychology, not really.
Yes,
meshable.
Well, he has some parts of it down pat, but they're usually the ones that fall in line with his talents as an impersonator and an actor.
You were saying.
Kind of, but this notion of, exploring the limits of human potential would fit very much more on a show like Kyle XY, which has this similar tone to Roswell in a lot of ways, but that is the gimmick that they were exploring throughout the entire show, that this is a kid who, instead of being alien, was designed to reach the limits of human potential.
Yes. I mean, it's odd because we go from Pierce and the aliens of 47 to really these are double plus good humans.
Yes.
With particularly weird cell structure.
Yes. Yes, and I have to admit, I love that notion of kind of the ways in which Max is perfectly human and the ways in which he's not. And it actually reminds me of a song by the very little-known Canadian songwriter Megan Metcalf called The Marrow and the Bone. And that's kind of the two sides of it. Their bone shape is human, but if their blood is alien cells, then what's making them has to be it too. And if it's not marrow inside the bones, then it's something else equally strange.
It's not just his blood, though. It's his cell structure, because Liz found the cells that look different back in the pilot.
Yes, but clearly it's been evoked in terms of blood at least once before in the Blood Brothers episode.
Oh, absolutely.
And I found it very odd, actually, when Pierce was talking about how he managed to remove Max's powers, that Nasedo, or the shape-shifting alien that the special unit was able to experiment on, have cerebral cortexes.
Yes. I mean, Max having a cerebral cortex makes sense, because human brain, but yeah.
Yeah, if he doesn't have a human skeleton, why would he have the same brain structures that we do?
Yeah, I can't wrangle that one for you. This is where I fall down with science fiction.
That's all right. Okay. So let's see. The orbs definitely are being used throughout as this Maguffin, and I think that it's almost lampshaded when Tess has no idea what to do, so just makes them glow, and that this completely rivets Pierce's attention.
Also, I don't know if you noticed this, but the way Pierce reacts to those orbs, it sounds like the audio cue that we hear is also audible to him, because he turns round as they start to glow.
Yeah, I think that is right.
So they're musical glowing orbs. Which I guess if you're going to have
Tess's mind, yeah.
Well, but yeah, I guess if they're a communicator, this kind of makes sense. But
right.
It's not. Yeah. It was almost like a what are they called? Synthesizer plus orchestra. It wasn't just a random chime.
Right. And we get the reveal that Nasedo was deliberately killing at least 3 unit leaders of the special unit, possibly many more.
Yes.
Which I think definitely telegraphs exactly what his plans were for staying behind once he's in a room with Pierce.
Absolutely, but we also get this bizarre, I think it's a 3-beat now officially. We had Hubble quizzing Max on dates of people that Nasedo had killed. We had Max quizzing Tess, rather. And then Pierce turns around and does it again, and Max doesn't seem to cotton on that this is what is happening.
Yes. Well, he's had a hard day.
He has, and he's in the dental chair from hell, so,
Yes. And speaking of that, I did think that we could actually call the first time Pierce drugged Max as Eucatastrophe, in that it seems like a very bad thing, but it does enable Isabel to get through to him.
Yeah, it does. I think you're right, that is the good catastrophe, isn't it? The thing that makes the plot possible.
Yes.
It gets them out of a dire hole. Yeah.
And I wanted to definitely shout out the kind of reversal of the handprint image that we get at the end. Whereas, it's kind of always been this symbol of alien power. It's been used definitely to open the door into the pod chamber. Whereas now it's kind of, Pierce's bloody handprint. He's completely human, he's wounded, he's powerless, and he is unable to get through that door. Yes.
No, it's great symmetry, too, because, of course, the first time we see it, it's life-giving.
Yes.
And here it's very much not. This is the end of Pierce.
Yes. Well, not quite, but it is.
Not quite.
Definitely.
For purposes of... Yeah.
Yeah, and it has been used as a symbol of death before, which we've called it.
Yes, we've seen it repeatedly from Nasedo's death, but...
Yes. And Tess once again shows or demonstrates how little she's in touch with her own humanity so far. In that, Isabel asks her about her powers and what she can contribute. And she doesn't even frame it with a bit of explanation beforehand. She just comes up with this image that is clearly designed to scare the whatever out of Isabel.
Yeah.
And she doesn't deny the fact that she's used her powers like this on Max. She doesn't. Neither of them actually say that she's used it on whether she's used it on Isabel before, but I think the implication is getting pretty clear now.
Yes, I'd forgotten how much we made that text that Tess was putting stuff in people's heads. But I think I guess it's a case of if you're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, you don't let the person see the rabbit. She kind of went, oh, this will be an effective trick if I give her no warning.
True. Yes. Though I think, to a certain extent, if you're confident in your abilities, then you do actually draw attention to it. You say, even though you know that this is coming, I can still fool you.
Well, yeah, but I think we've talked before about how confident Tess is and degrees of confidence.
Right, yes.
I think there's a lot of pay no attention to the man behind the curtain with Tess.
Yes, and that possibly does also suggest that her powers aren't as strong as they may seem, that if you do know what's coming and can prepare for it, you at least make it harder for her to keep it up.
I would think particularly with someone like Isabel, who has almost an equivalent power.
Yes.
If she can get into Max's head dreamwalking, surely she can block her own from being invaded.
Yes, yeah. And I thought that the parallels between Isabel's dreaming and Michael's heat sickness back in the balance were interesting. Kind of the notion of the internal state and the visions being...
Yes, there's that really lovely line from Alex about I'll hold on to you so that you don't get lost.
Yes. Alex still being the best, of course.
Alex is so often the best. But there's a sense, too, I suppose, circling back around to that theme, that he's grounding her to her humanity and to what matters on Earth for her, so that she can find a way out.
Yes. Yeah, and there was this one beat when Nasedo was describing the plan and telling them all to set their watches, which reminded me vividly of a moment in Buffy the Vampire Slayer where Watcher Wesley was doing the same thing. Yes. And Buffy and Willow would just hold up their wrist demonstrating, no, we don't wear watches.
Yes. I was thinking that. I couldn't remember if Michael wore one.
And I thought it was a little bit foolish that they're insisting on sticking to the timing of the plan so much that Tess is holding Isabel back from getting in contact with Max.
Yes.
Whereas kind of, generally you don't want to take chances with how long it will take to get in touch with someone and tell him the plan.
Particularly when they're semi-lucid.
Yes. Yes, and they have notion
for all they know, Max is still under that electric shock therapy thing, which seems to frustrate Isabel's dreamwalking.
Right.
Isn't that what she says before? She keeps coming up against white light?
Yeah, that could be it. I just assumed that it was kind of because he was too conscious and...
well, I think what she says at the time is he's in some kind of trauma.
Right.
So it might just be that he's so horrified by the whole thing, his system's totally shut down and isn't receptive.
Yeah. Yeah, later on we kind of have the notion of Isabel trying to establish contact with Max when he's very close to a normal state of mind.
Yeah.
And that he simply is not paying attention to her then.
Yeah. This idea that it's a bit like radio signals between them or something.
Yeah.
But no, the plan, the sticking to seconds is particularly weird, especially because Nasedo's first, step in the plan is, now I will lecture you.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, well, if seconds are of the essence here, can't the lecture wait until you're all not in this building?
Yeah, and kind of, they have no notion of exactly what it would take to create a diversion at the right moment, so surely you need to allow a bit of wiggle room there, too.
Yeah.
And I think I only have one more note left, which is how Pierce has to remind Max about trick photography, that he kind of overplays his hand and seems to have driven Max into this grief-filled despair until he says, no, I haven't shot her yet. I just will if you don't do what I tell you.
Yes, and I don't know how much of that is that the fog of the drugs or whatever is still in effect and his responses are slow, but...
Yeah, definitely he's pushed Max in so many different directions that he can't really be sure of what he's...
Yeah, same with any kind of reliability, yeah. Not particularly a note, but something that did jump out to me the first time through was when they're still gathering information and everyone's setting off on that plan, there's a sign that flashes up behind them as the aliens leave that says refuge in red.
Ah!
And the irony is just fantastic.
Right.
Because they've got no refuge left, really, except Valenti.
Yes.
And oddly, Maria and Alex do a kind of about-face later when Liz, I can't do names this evening, they're all Isabel.
That's a completely different episode.
Yeah, very. I mean, that's an ineffective plan, certainly very confusing. No, when Liz says we've got to go to Valenti, Alex, who kind of previously implied they shouldn't, really? We should? Are you sure? Is that safe?
Yes. Right.
Are humans having sort of loyalty issues or something?
Yes.
Back at the Crashdown.
Yes. I did also think it was possibly indicative of the plot being under time pressure that Isabel was able to recognize the logo for the Eagle Rock base. But then again, Max excluded. She possibly has spent as much time in the UFO Center as any of them by now.
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder if it wouldn't have made more sense if she'd drawn it and Liz had gone, oh, I've seen that. It's at the UFO Center.
Yeah. But on the other hand, Liz does have to carry the exposition baton quite often enough, so...
She does. Oh, and, it's kudos to this episode. It doesn't feel exposition-heavy as you're watching it.
No.
They do a lot with world-building very quickly.
Yes.
And, it doesn't all feel like exposition spaghetti. By and large, it works.
Yeah. Pierce even manages to get some in under the cover of villain monologues, which usually works pretty well.
Yes. When in doubt, villain monologue.
Yes.
It does raise... Oh, go on.
Yep.
The interesting point, too, that when they're under pressure and they're fretting that Max has died because they see that body, Tess says, no, we can't have died, I'd feel it.
Right.
Which is interesting, because Isabel registered nothing as Michael was dying, and according to that book thing, they're supposed to be in engineered pairs.
Yeah, I think that is another case of Tess romanticizing her connection with Max.
That would make sense. I mean, I also wondered, too, which probably is distressing considering everything I've now come to think about Nasedo, but we're told there were 4 aliens in that crash. Were there supposed to be 4 Nasedos? Was each alien supposed to have a person, do we think?
That's interesting, yeah. I definitely got the impression that the 4 were meant as guardians and protectors. We'll probably never find out too much given the idea that at least 2 of them died in the crash.
Yeah, not to spoil what doesn't happen, but we don't really circle back. But yeah, it came up this episode, and I thought, I wonder if we were meant to have 4 very computer-like alien protectors.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that we'll definitely have at least a little bit more to talk about that particular bit of info in future episodes.
Yeah, something to mull over.
Spoiling things here, yeah. So, favorite moments?
Oh, favorite moments. I don't know, it's good. It's all very good.
Yeah, I think mine would have to be kind of near the beginning when Alex and Maria come in and have shared the news, and Alex and Isabel and Michael and Maria are hugging and comforting each other. And Tess and Liz have this kind of uneasy look passing between them, and really the only comfort that they can share is plans to get Max back.
Yes. I think mine might have to be just before Isabel is doing that first tree walking of Max. And Alex says, I'll hold on to you to stop you getting lost.
That is definitely good as well.
It's one of those few really, comforting is the wrong words, but softer moments in the episode.
Yes. And for episode MVP, I am going to put forward a Mr. David Conrad as Agent Pierce.
Oh, do we have to have him? He's very, very good. No, I think you're right. He's wonderful.
Yes.
He even does, I don't know if it's on purpose at the beginning, but he does a very good impression of an automated machine over that intercom.
Yes. Yes.
Sounds a bit like in a minute Max is going to be told, press 2 to reach your home planet.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I've seen him pop up in a few other things since his time on Roswell, and he's definitely always good. And really the only alternative would have been giving it to Jason Behr for the third week, and though he's good here, I don't know if he's quite that good.
No, we've given quite a few to him, actually, and
yes,
Pierce does have to carry so much of the episode.
He does, yes.
And he's awful, but he does being awful incredibly well.
Yes, yes. It even has to act a little bit, I was going to say schizophrenic, but not that. More like more like attention deficit disorder.
No, but you're right, he sort of does, because we get a couple of these very odd moments where Pierce has to land almost being comforting to Max. Hugging him, hushing him, soothing him. And then he turns around and is going to hit him because he won't tell him how the orbs work.
Right.
And he does it all on a dime, and you buy even the weird calmness.
Yes.
Or I do, anyway.
Yes. Yeah, I
Listeners
do too.
at home, get in touch and tell us.
Yes.
I think we can safely give it to Pierce.
Yes, okay. And have you a rating in mind already?
I have, actually. I'm going to give it 5 fingerprints.
Ah, okay. That fits with my 2 bloody handprints.
Very well, actually, yes.
If you agree or disagree with us, you can get in touch via Twitter at @alienscast. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/alienscast, or visit our blog at alienscast.com. Weigh in on the forums yourself.
And for some reason, I don't have the rest of that part of the script, so I will... No, I definitely don't have that part of the script.
Do you need me to send it again?
No, I will just pull it from a back episode. No, that's a test question. That doesn't help us. Here we are. Max to the max should have it. Promise I am organised about these things. I got everything ready and everything. Oh, no, that doesn't have it. I do need you to send it again.
I do think so, yeah, especially since in a few lines there's going to be some different stuff, so...
That's very odd. Oh, here we go. I found it in the back episode. Oh, that's probably better. Just as it comes through. Why is it all purple? Oh, it's in a very weird place. Okay. Where did you get to? You got to email us weigh in on the forums, right?
Yes.
Or you can get in touch by email at illegalalienscast.com and suggest anything you'd like us to discuss on the podcast, or send us audio files that we can play in. We're on TuneIn, Stitcher, and Google Play podcasts, so you can listen to us there if you like.
If you enjoyed this episode, please link to us on your blog, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever else you are on the internet. You can leave us a review on iTunes, help other Roswellians find us. Our theme music is Epic Trailer Intro by Honey Lemon.
This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives License. Find out more by searching for Creative Commons. I'm Claire.
I'm Chris, and this is Illegal Aliens, a Roswell podcast. We're back to our regular schedule now, so we'll be back on Monday, October 16th.
After we finish Season 1, we're going to take a week to talk about the season as a whole, so we'd really love to hear from you with thoughts or questions about that. And then we'll take a look at the promo that's setting the Roswellian fandom on fire, and meet Baron and Toluca.
But next week, Kyle Valenti barges in where he doesn't belong, and the aliens find their destiny.